Joker Folie à Deux, or Madness for Two, is the sequel to the 2019 film Joker. Joker was a supersized hit in 2019, making $1 billion. It was part of DC's Black Label, and they took a risk. There was a lot of risk-taking for DC. They gave $90 million to like 4 different filmmakers, and they had Shazam, there was Joker, and then Birds of Prey, and then there was another one maybe. But they all had budgets of around $90 million, and they're just sort of experimenting and letting certain filmmakers do certain things. And Todd Phillips had a vision of doing a Joker movie, but it felt like it was almost an anti-Joker movie. Most people love Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Crown Prince of Crime. He's like chaos incarnate, basically running around with a machine gun and knives in his pockets. An enigma, just there to challenge Batman. But what if you take away Batman and Todd Phillips made Joker, which was like a mental health issue movie. It was a searing, depressing drama. Even if you didn't like the first Joker film from 2019, the movie was emotionally moving. It was definitely brutal in certain ways. And the sequel is finally here. And I gotta say, the movie is very obnoxious. This film takes place 2 years later, after the events of the first film. Arthur is in Arkham Asylum, and he's sort of not a famous figure because they made a television movie about him. However, he's going to be tested for Fight the Insanity shield that he's using. He's going to be put on trial for the murders that he did in the first film. And one of the nice prison guards notices that he takes an eye to Lee, a blonde woman singing in one of the different wards, so he has him transferred over for a little bit. So a budding romance starts between Arthur and Lee, and it starts into something else. This movie feels a little disjointed. There was rumors that Todd Phillips was directing this movie, and that Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix kind of took over a little bit and were rewriting scenes on the fly. I honestly feel that way too when I watch the film. It's 2 hours, 20 minutes. But I think what Todd Phillips' original vision for this film was to be an indictment of people's fandom of serial killers, or divisive figures like killers or mass shooters or things like that. If you look at Ted Bundy, he was a handsome man, so he had women wanting to sleep with him, sending him love letters. He had a new girlfriend at the time. He had fans galore. He had people that said they thought that he was innocent because they thought he was attractive. It's been around since the golden days, so it's definitely amplified with all the true crime stuff. We got documentaries, podcasts, we got books, we've got shows and movies and all sorts of things like that. So I think Todd Phillips' original vision for this movie was an indictment of that, because Arthur is sort of not put on a pedestal, but he has the sort of respect of his peers in the asylum. They're all crazy people, but there is a part where he sort of influences them a little bit. Something that Joker does in the comics. He usually hangs out with whack jobs, but it's not explored. If you're expecting Heath Ledger antics in one of these films, you're not going to get it. This is more of a searing drama. Joaquin Phoenix does a great job. He's back in full form. Lady Gaga's all right too, and there's some new cast members rounding out the cast. But the movie is equal parts true crime, courtroom drama, and musical, something that the trailers kind of hide. They sort of have characters sing in the trailer, but they don't outright say it's a musical film, which turned off a lot of people. I felt the first 3 musical numbers were great. They were organic, they were part of the film, but then as the film went on, they just kept throwing in more and more singing sequences that didn't have production design, it didn't have like a purpose. It just felt like, we're having a moment, let's break out into song. And it happens, there's about 15 total singing scenes in this movie, which I feel like there are too many, and some of them feel half-assed and sort of added in later. When they don't have the production value, it doesn't feel like it has a purpose. For example, in the movie Wonka, 2023 musical fantasy comedy, there's a sequence where the police chief goes down to visit the chocolate cartel. And there's this whole song where they're trying to bribe him. I heard you had a sweet tooth. And, it's like a long musical sequence. It's funny. It's charming. It fleshes out the villains. But there's a purpose to it. There's world building. They're basically showing the wondrous world of Wonka. Chocolate is as good as currency. People love chocolate so much that they'd be willing to risk their career for it. So there's more than just, it could have just been boiled down to a 30-second sequence of, we'll give you chocolate if you beat up Wonka, and he'd be like, okay. But it's a musical, so the first 3 sequences of Joker 2 have this, but then the other ones don't. There's a great, some good production design here. Great cinematography too. So there's a couple of tracking shots. There's one at the beginning. There's one at the end. There's some really good camera work in this movie, but it's just a little bit disjointed, and it honestly feels, by the time you get to the end credits, you're kind of worn out from all the singing. It becomes a soap opera at the end. The movie sort of loses itself and becomes really pretentious, and it's trying to do so much, and it keeps taking the plot in different directions. The musical plot line is basically the romance between Arthur and Lee, but then there's the courtroom drama stuff that's more interesting, but it gets overshadowed by the musical elements. So overall, Joker, Folie à Deux, I think it's trying to be a deconstruction of the first film. It's trying its hardest to not give you the anarchist Joker that you kind of want. I kind of wanted to see someone sneak a machine gun into the prison and have Arthur just kill everyone, or have like some sort of super riot. Or this movie is not like that, just like the first film. The first film is just a drama about a man pushed to his limits, and he happens to be the Joker. The sequel is going to be the same. Todd Phillips reined it in a little bit, and people might not like that. I didn't like that for sure. But overall, it's a pretty big disappointment. The movie just doesn't really work. I wouldn't watch it again. It has, some good performances. I like some parts of the film, but it's really just hackneyed, and it feels like interference from the actors or something. Either way, it didn't quite come well together, and I give Joker, Folie à Deux a 5 out of 10.